Hey everyone, so welcome to the Community Land Trust orientation and monthly meeting. So I just want to go over, we just did our check-in and the agenda for today, we're just going to do a little bit of an intro, both to KEPRA, for those of you who aren't familiar with KEPRA Institute, as well as the Homes for All and the Community Land Trust work that we've been doing over the last couple of years and really intensely over the last few months, making a lot of progress. And then after that, we're going to talk about opportunities to get involved. And then we're going to talk about the purpose of the Homes for All Coalition. And really throughout this, we really want it to not just be a lecture. I'll talk for a little bit just to make sure everyone's up to speed. But please jump in with questions or even your own ideas and thoughts anytime during like this meeting today. So again, this is about being generative and learning from each other. And lastly, we'll talk a little bit about the CLT updates, just any really recent updates. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show a short video that just talks a little bit about KEPRA Institute. Just give me 1 second. And also kind of like the story and some of the philosophical underpinnings of the work. All right, can everyone see my screen? Okay.
This is
Sorry.
Jules.
I'm gonna skip past this commercial real quick. Everyone here?
There's a gray spot on the screen, gray rectangle.
Community means something different round here. Love's breeding ground born new, blossoming into barraging stories of blackness, banter, and bustle through blues like blood couldn't make us any closer.
Excuse me, is anybody else seeing the big gray rectangle?
Yeah, I see it too, Hannah.
Yeah.
It's better now.
It's on? Okay, thank you.
It's still gray on the top, but it's not blocking the screen anymore.
Growing community is like growing food. It's a lot of work. You got to till the soil. You got to plant the seeds. You got to have the right weather conditions. So community is just like that. You start with what you have where you are.
KEPRA is a nonprofit grassroots organization that was created roughly about 20 years ago. And when it was created by my father, my mother, and my godmother. They're the three co-founders. And they created it to help me, Miss Paulette's grandson, my lifelong, he's like a brother, Ijaz. Some of my partners I grew up with, Jerome and Jerome, in my neighborhood. It's basically like, hey, how do we create a formal experience for these young black men to grow and thrive?
The birth of KEPRA is about, again, inherently, the crux of KEPRA is tied to liberation and freedom. Freedom to me is having a goal or goals, aspirations, dreams, visions, and missions, and being able to have the opportunity to fulfill those goals, aspirations, visions, and missions.
Empowerment means to me like you get something right. You do what you want to do. You figure out what's your goal and you set your goal.
Running to get it like I'm in the Olympics, but there is no finish. We gotta keep going, so I set the pace. Handle with grace, the person I need to be leading the race. Ballin' like I never balled before. Flexing forever like 24. Taking the keys, open all the doors. Liners that cover up all the sores. Give it your best and the world adores. This is for certain, I'm so for sure.
We live in a culture, when you think of wealth, you think of money. How much money you got? What's your credit rating? Do you have any intergenerational wealth? Do you own a home or home ownership? Blah, 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 blah. If you're not careful when you think community wealth, then the folks start thinking, oh, you're talking about how rich your community is, how much fiscal assets does it have. But wealth itself really is much broader than that. It's your intellectual wealth. You know, what kind of information do you know? Others in your community, what do they know? Breadth and depth of your relationship with others in your community. Spiritual wealth, faith, your heart, music, art, you know, those things all make up wealth in your community.
You know, the old saying goes, your good deeds start at home. To grow community means to grow the space that you will be in. Even though that's not something you might wake up in the morning and strive for, to grow community and to grow individuals is something intrinsically that's there. You might not intentionally think on it, but that's where we all live. How will we be okay in the future? Is today putting us in a place that we will want to be tomorrow?
Community empowerment is agency and liberation. It is when community recognizes power that they already have. You know, when oftentimes empowerment is used in spaces and by people, it's usually like, I give you this power. But there's no giving power, we all have power.
And everything Kepler does is grounded in the process over the product. The symbolism of the dung beetle is that you are constantly, you're in this evolutionary process that's gonna take you through a rough road. It is the human experience evidence. Similar to cells coming to a seed, there is a process to get you there. And it is not without obstacles and inhibitions and all those things you carry.
A safe space for genuine laughter, hugs, like healing in the easiest language, lacking nothing while lifting all things into liberalizing intellect, our preferred mode of freedom. Libraries, dancing around in the spines of our elders' tongues, coded in valuables, actual gems, reaping return on investment. We are the sum of our ancestors' wildest dreams. The hope of a mother's heart, the block turned classroom, trial and error over adolescence, learning the most teachable moments rest within the mistakes. This be education, they say.
Community empowerment, what I think it means is when you work with other people in your community and help each other out with some things you might need help on. On this one, we got a lot of agriculture, gardening and stuff. So, for example, someone might need compost and someone else might have that, and they'll do a nice trade-off for that.
Nobody comes to the world by themselves, at least not often. And nobody gets anything done without being connected to other human beings. On the future state, it's real simple. And not simple to do, and we may not, as humans, we may not get it done. Reconnect ourselves, our own humanity. You do something for somebody.
It's really hard to hear.
You feel good. You can't go and start it out. There is no
Yeah, Alvin, do you hear that? It's a lot of noise. I don't know what that is.
Really staticky.
Did it just start?
Like a minute ago, 2 minutes maybe.
Stop the share and start it again. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Thanks for holding for technical difficulties. Okay. All right, can people see it again?
Yes.
You can go and buy that. That
Is that better? Or is it the same?
Yeah, sounds better.
I appreciate it.
feeling you get from helping another human being.
Generations and generations generated a plethora of material they manipulated to control, superimpose on those they chose. It's time to reclaim, resist, renew. It's time to replenish, revise, redo.
The future exists in the present. So right now the future is right here in front of us, or multiple futures might be here in front of us, but we have to be looking at it to see it, to experience it. The world we're trying to create, I think, is a world that puts at least some more balance in how we interact with each other as human beings, period.
It's the culture that we start with and push out into our community through our lived experience.
Someone writes a novel or a biography about you, but you have the opportunity to deny that and write your own. It's just about being able to control your narrative, control your destiny. That's self-determination. I'm not asking anybody else to define it for me. I'm not even asking the dominant narrative to accept my version of reality. I don't care. All I care about is manifesting it with those that I build genuine relationships with. That's it. So I'm not asking somebody else to give me justice. I'm trying to create a world where I can leverage justice on my own terms. Why ask?
Growth is dependent upon the whole, nourishing the self so all of community feels like home. Self-care be synonymous with community work, inextricably bound in praxis, purpose, and passion, but the profit is one we've already gained, one we've already had. Radical love rooted in relationship, a kind of currency invisible to the natural eye but present in action, in theory and in practice. And in true community wealth building fashion, we have always been the greatest gift to ourselves.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all. I'm gonna just let that sit open for a second. And just open up the space if anyone, and we also do have one of the founders of Kepra here, Ms. Pambana Uishi. If you want to add anything into this story about Kepra, I'll open the floor and or for questions. Okay, and if there's none, I'll just give a little
I have
con.
money from this person property before.
Thanks, Mimi. And I'll just say, like, one of the things that I appreciate about the Kepler story video is just one, the story, but also just the heart, that really it's relationships and the choice that we have when we work together that creates the kind of world we want to live in. And when we talk about the community land trust, a lot of times there's a focus on affordable housing, which is important and an important resource in community, but it's not that without relationships and without cooperation really isn't going to change the kind of world and culture. So as we talking more about community land trust, that's kind of, we see this as a tool. And real quick, I'm going to go ahead. I'm gonna move to, and if you want to say something, you can unmute yourself. That community land trust is really just a tool for creating that kind of community wealth, and a tool for us to work together. And what is a community land trust, you might say? So I'll just give a short overview. A community land trust is really a way of cooperatively and owning land together, often through a nonprofit organization that owns land, and then it's used for community purposes. And the community is involved in making decisions and helping figure out and making sure that it serves the needs of the community that's a part of it. So the first CLT was created during the Civil Rights Movement, New Communities, Inc. in Albany, Georgia, where they owned about 7,000 acres of farmland that was owned by Black folks, particularly folks who were in the Civil Rights Movement, who were working with people to stand up for their rights. And because of that, a lot of farmers who were sharecroppers or tenant farmers got kicked off of their land. So they wanted a place for people to create their own economy and community and have a place to support each other. So that's kind of the origins of the community land trust movement in the United States. And now there's about 300 community land trusts in different communities around the United States, approximately 300. And over the last couple of years, Kepler Institute, along with different partners and community members who've been a part of it, has been organizing to try and create one in Indianapolis. And that's how we got here today. And I'll say a little bit about the Homes for All Coalition. So Homes for All is a campaign of an organization called Right to the City, which focuses on tenant rights and community control of land and housing. So one of the big ways that people do community control of land is through community land trust. So that is how Kepler got involved with community land trusts. Is we had some friends of ours come to us about starting a Homes for All chapter here, and we said sure. And over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of conversations, built a lot of relationships, and through that, we were able to secure funding from the city of Indianapolis, about $1.5 million, to help start the operations of the community land trust over the next couple of years. And yeah, and that's the timeline. I'll also share what the timeline is for the launch of the CLT is June of this year is what we're targeting, being able to not necessarily have projects or houses or land or whatever, but to be able to have the infrastructure in place to own the properties, to have policies to collectively manage it, and do work together. So welcome, and appreciate you being here with us. I'll open it for questions now.
Well, Alvin, I wanted to ask you, did you want to say anything about Grounded Solutions?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Bombana. So Grounded Solutions is a national network that has helped a lot of different cities and communities start their own community land trusts. So Jason Webb is their technical support director who's working with us in Indianapolis to help start ours here. So he's been, and if you were there he did a training here in Indianapolis back in December. He'll be coming back a couple times over the next couple months to do more sessions, both trainings as well as work with an advisory board that we're setting up in the next 30 days or so, to help come up and make decisions about what the policies should look like for the community land trusts. So any other questions? Great question, Ms. Pombana. Yeah, go ahead, Alicia, please.
I just want to know, for those individuals and businesses that have been following community land trust along a little farther than others, some people might fall in at every little, meeting every month, every 6 months, every quarter. For those who have been following and we know the initiatives and we're completely sold and we want to do more to kind of push that initiative so we can go ahead and start making like timelines and solidifying maybe a partnership. What does that look like? What is the next step? Because we don't want to wait until you guys solidify all these ideas. We want to kind of help build them with you because myself, I'm a researcher. I do a lot of data. I know a lot of things that are going around within the city of Indianapolis that could probably benefit the CLT within partnerships, within financing. I'm also a business consultant. I build companies from scratch. And so I would like to help in any way I can to make sure not only our developments for our ages 0 to 18 get out there, but also developments for other sustainable. So we have a sustainable homes program. So we would like to see how we can incorporate that within like veterans and mom and pops and disabled people, and kind of build that community to where it's not all, I would say, cohesive to the same type of individuals that are experiencing the same type of anticipated or social chronic or situational emergency. We want to kind of have a little diversity in these communities. So what can we do to kind of solidify those partnerships or learn what we need to do to be more, cohesive?
Awesome. It's like you read my mind. So the ways to get involved. So first of all, if you're interested in partnering or have ideas, like with an organization that you're working with, I'm putting in the chat clt@kepra.org. That goes directly to me and the other folks, Emhotep, who's also helping organize the CLT. So please email that and we'll set up a time to get together and talk. And then separately, there's also a get involved form on our website for the CLT, which is clt.kepra, that's KHEPRW.org. I know some of you have already filled that out. If you haven't, make sure and you're still interested in being involved after this meeting and we don't scare you away tonight, go on the website and sign up to get involved so that you stay on the email list and that we can loop you in as we have things that come up. And one of those opportunities in particular is going out to communities and doing presentations. So if you have a group of neighbors, if you're part of a neighborhood association that might be interested, or a church or whatever, please fill that form. Has a checkbox in there to sign up to have us come out and do some presentation. And Stephanie, who's on the call, is helping us go around and do some outreach efforts too, along with Deidre Coleman, who's another member of our team. So yes, so those are a couple ways. Another thing I'm going to put in the chat, going to have lots of links by the end, is a book study that we're doing that's about understanding the affordable housing crisis. So it's housingcrisis.kepra.org to sign up for that. So it's going to be a 6-month book study that's going to cover 6 different books. And our goal, first of all, is to educate ourselves. So that's folks within Kepra and folks like yourselves who might want to be involved and or just do something in your community too. So it includes books like Evicted by Matthew Desmond, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, just a whole gamut of books that we want to try and wrap our brains around so that we can collectively better understand, I think, a very complex problem that doesn't have a really simple solution. And I see that we have a hand raised. Brittany, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Alvin. I just had a question when it comes to outreach.
Yeah.
If all are connected, there's an opportunity kind of leveraging the neighborhood advocate network. And I don't know if you're thinking of being more so like invited into these spaces, or if you wanted to do more scheduled outreach, and like doing town halls in all these different areas of the city, or what that would really look like in your opinion, and to folks on this call as well. But there's an opportunity to do that. I think that's something that team, from what I know about them, they would be interested in helping us with. And I think there are a few different ways we can facilitate connections and introductions to those individuals as well. I used to be one, so I can tell you we have, spreadsheets of all the different neighborhood associations throughout the entire city of Indianapolis. So it's just they could be, if they are interested, they could be a really great way that we facilitate sharing information about this to the community.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, Brittany. Yeah, and we were actually able to connect with Ashley Miller at the city, is going to try and hook us up with a meeting with all of them coming up. But that idea of doing a town hall and reaching out, that's perfect. Thank you.
I have a question.
Awesome.
So you mentioned how you said Deidre Coleman and Stephanie were I think you said like members of the coalition. You just mentioned like some type of leadership of the coalition. And I wanted to ask, how does one become involved in the coalition in terms of leadership and things of that sort?
So Deidre Coleman does our like Kepra outreach. So has been doing outreach for various Kepra programs, and so is Stephanie. So if you're interested, of course, the email clt@kepra.org, and we can talk about how people can get involved, volunteering, and figuring out how to engage folks. So yeah, definitely welcome that conversation, Aprilli. Any other ideas? And I'm going to open it up. If people have ideas on how they'd like to get involved too, I'm going to open the floor too. Or even just questions in general.
Okay, so my initial thoughts, Alvin, is that each person has something to contribute. And I just want to put that out there, no matter how big, no matter how small, how insignificant you might think that it is, we all have innate talents, whether it be, we got to think from the scratch up, because how we got into the situation with our economies, we have to really start at the bottom and address up. So creating that accountability for whatever that issue is, and then actually coming out on a sustainable side. And that means from housing, from mental health, all the way out to professional development, to college, to some type of career placement. And you will find yourself somewhere within the middle, top, bottom. We have to just sit down, and I want to reiterate, to break apart what we have to offer and then bring it all together to make the community land trust big, to make it sustainable, to make it a commodity. It already is. It's just a model that people are not used to using anymore, because we're so used to using all the other models that the government has been giving us in the struggle. So we're kind of moving beyond that to create, our sustainable communities of the now. The future is now, believe it or not. So just want to reiterate that, kind of jog your mind about what is it that you're passionate about, what is it that you like to do. Connect with me and let me help you break that down, and so we can utilize it to put it in the community land trust. And again, I build companies. So I want to say one of the best things that I do as a business consultant is I articulate and transcribe my clients' business thoughts. I actually put it on paper, create that concept for them, and I legalize their business. And so it's all about you just give me a few thoughts. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? My email is Alicia, and that's ALISHA @asafehouse.org. I'm gonna leave it in the chat. But again, kind of think about what you're passionate about, and let's just go from there. I'm eager. So one of my good mentors asked this very valuable question. I didn't know it was valuable then, but being in the place and where I am right now, I ask myself this question now, and I want everybody else to kind of challenge themselves. Are you a lion or are you a gazelle? Like, which are you? Because lions, they go seek. The gazelles, they run away. And I had to answer that question, and I was being brutally honest. I'm a lion. You show me where the gazelle lives, and I'm gonna get it. So let's kind of put that mind frame out there that we got to go get it. So I'm gonna leave my email in the chat again, and I look forward to speaking to you guys and moving forward with these concepts, and just helping build that South Side out there. That's a lot of land. That's a lot of projects. I'm getting ready to introduce Alvin to a lot of things. So get in, y'all, get in.
Awesome. And Alicia, do you want to speak to, I don't think we mentioned the Octavia's Visionary Campus and the 17 acres on the south side. Do you want to share about that, what it is, as far as you understand it? I don't know if you've been out there yet.
No, I have been bothered with building, so I haven't had a chance to drive. I just did the visual learning about what it was when we came to some of the initial meetings. And again, they have secured roughly 17, 18 acres of land on the south side that needs sustainable housing development programs to create a ecosystem, if you will. I call it an ecosystem. because it's creating opportunities. And again, if you look at a Safe House Corporation's models, we use what we call our 5 core values, which are our ROs. And using those ROs, we're able to address these issues and have people come out on the sustainable side. So again, they'll be able to have property out there on that 17 acres of land, come back and work with us, and then help create more opportunities for other people. And so we would like for you guys to also be able to join in, to be able to solicit some of those ideas, solicit those people, again, to create more jobs, to create economic contributions, positive ones, and then also self-sustainability. And that's what it's pretty much all about. That's the vision that I got from the 17 acres of land that exists. That's a lot of social, emotional wellness. That's a lot of psychological psychology programs. There's a lot of mental health programs. There's a lot of daycares there. I see a lot of doctor office. There's so much that you could put on 17 acres sustainable grocery stores. So right now, one of our third projects that we're working on is called the International Sustainable Foods Corporation. And so we need people to agricultures, if you like growing, if you understand farming, if you plant, like there's so many things that we can do. The sky is not the limit, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Alicia. And I put in the chat. So Octavia's Visionary Campus is the name of the 17-acre space that we purchased on the south side, near south side of Indianapolis. And it has a couple of buildings, facilities, a marketplace, a couple houses on it, as well as land that has traditionally been farmland. So right now we're in the process of coming up with a vision for what that should look like, starting with building relationships, which is why on Thursdays, 12 to 4, we have open houses every week where you can join us for lunch and learn about it and see if you're interested in getting involved. That's the space to and see the property and feel and help us make the vision. So Kyle asked a question about any properties, or are there any projects that we have that we're looking at for the CLT right now? And the main things, and again, we won't be ready to launch until June, so we don't really have anything solid that is like really starting yet. But there was funding that Inglewood Community Development Corporation received, 1.5 million of CDBG funds to do some townhomes that they intend to put into the Community Land Trust. So that is a project that is currently in development. And then there's also, we received money from the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative to pilot a home buyer choice program. So that's similar. And again, the website clt.kepper.org has some examples of different ways community land trusts have been set up around the country. One of those is through what's called the home buyer program, where people buy a house like normal on the market, but they get a big grant from the CLT. So like if it's $250,000, maybe the CLT kicks in $100,000. So they only pay $150,000 in exchange for putting it into the community land trust and being a part of that community land trust, so that good deal and that affordable house gets passed on to the next family. So instead of having to build a bunch of houses, which is maybe part of the solution too, it really tries to look at existing housing in the community and trying to leverage that by using subsidy dollars that are available. So those are two kind of projects that we've been kicking around, but we don't really have anything super solid. The idea is over the next year and 6 months, year, to work with you all if you have ideas and help us figure out what it looks like.
So Alvin, would the townhomes that you just mentioned, would those be under the home buyers program that you were just sharing, or would those be the rentals, or are there rental developments that are underway for the community land trust, or is it just the home, like the intent of the CLT is for home buying purposes?
So I don't think we've narrowed it to home, at least for those townhomes, the intent is home ownership, but we have not narrowed in what it should look like. And that's kind of what the next 6 months is going to look like. And if you have interest in being a part of the advisory board, that's going to help think through some of those issues, that you can go on the website, clt.kepper.org, and just check that you're interested in the advisory board, and or email us too. Because we want to make sure that community is represented, and we think through, what should it look like? Should it be rental? Should it be home ownership? Should it be both? and like what makes the most sense. So
And then I did want to share, Melita, too, that, like Alan said, there are different community land trusts around the country. And some community land trusts, they have housing, both, housing and rental. They have commercial property, they have mixed units, they have agriculture. So, it's not just limited to housing. And again, it kind of depends on what the community says, hey, this is, things that we want to do and what we feel like the community land trust. And like the gentleman from dang, I just forgot the name of Mr. Jameson. He's looking at farmland and agriculture. So it's not just limited to housing, and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be limited to home ownership either.
yeah, and it also could be commercial space too.
And one of the projects I'll be working on is helping to put together a survey so that we get a lot of community buy-in as to what's best for Indy. So there's lots of options. So what's going to work best here?
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I wanted to say is too, and again, in the CLT and working with communities, again, it's not a cookie cutter approach. Like we may have different programs that offer either a subsidy or, help with the home buy-in, but it is really truly to try to work with communities around what they need.
Yeah, thanks, Melita. Did you want to add any or what you would like to see or any thoughts you want to share?
I'm sorry, you was asking me, Alvin.
Yeah, did you want to share any thoughts? I'd like to see.
Yeah, so I think for me, like as I think about, being in this space of development almost a year, and just really like diving in and understanding, the affordable housing crisis and different things like that. And so I just, I guess like that to me is like the initial, like an immediate need, but I also think about it in a space of where when I think about like walkability, when I think about it doesn't just have to be commercial and it doesn't just have to be residential. And I think about like, is this a space of where it's almost like other sides of town that I visit and some of you all may frequent, which is where like when you go to like Irvington and you go to Broad Ripple and you go to, all these other sides of towns where it's literally like, you have the grocery store on your block or in your neighborhood that is rideable, that's walkable, and so all of some of the conveniences that add to the quality of life, whether there is access to transportation or not, that also creates the community, right? And so that's kind of what I see, like just to hear, like it does not, have to just be residential. I'm just like, oh, well, in my head, I'm like, well, the sky's the limit, like, so it's just like, that's kind of what I see. Like, that's really what I see. Like we just bought our first house at the end of 2020 and we are on 41st and Emerson. And it's almost just like every time we go out our neighborhood, we go left to go north. And it's just like to either go north or to Broad Ripple, but that thing that we're contemplating is just like, just the ease of how easy it is to live in certain areas. Mine is a car, or mine is having to go far for quality food and like all the different things. And so it just makes me wonder, like just the infinite possibilities of how could we create like a duplicate mini city that is by the community, that is, adding the quality of life and all the things that a lot of us need and want and are deserving of. So I'm off my soapbox. I can talk about that forever, but that's what I think. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you for sharing. That's great stuff.
And then I just wanted to share, Melita, you might want to go look at Dudley Community Land Trust. So, when they did their community land trust, it ended up being housing, I think daycare center, senior health care facility. I mean, they had a number of different things. So again, like Alicia said, the sky's the limit, in the context, of what we come up with and we're willing to work toward and, garner the resources and things like that, but it has to be sustainable too. Yeah. But sustainable in the context to me, when we say sustainable, I mean, both, like Alva said, in relationships, that it has to be, the community is invested in it. It's what they want. And then, we find the resources to make it sustainable financially.
Yeah. So that leads me to my next question. When we talk about like the community and we talk about like people being able to purchase their homes, within the CLT, like within the 17 acres specifically. So are you all thinking that, how would you go about, like, will there be a vetting process? Like when I think about like areas, so for like instance, the Woodruff area, right? The historic Woodruff area, like you can't even buy a home over there. Like it has to be approved and all the different, like they take you through hell to buy over there in that area. So it's like, my question is that what the CLT, like Kepler, is thinking of, like the vetting process to ensure that those who are there are like really rallying and understanding the CLT and the importance of it and all the different things, and making sure that the vision is hopefully remains intact, and even when thinking about their ability to be able to sell and, different things like that. So that's my question to you all. Is that something that is that necessary, or is that something that is being considered about how to go about those who are able to purchase and rent in the area?
I think that's a really important question to tackle. I don't know if we have the answer for that, but I think that's kind of what the next phase looks like. What should it look like? While not violating fair housing policies, to make sure that it does what we want it to do, which is in alignment with that idea of building community wealth and being a platform for us to create the kind of community we want to live in. So I definitely think that's a great question. We should put a pin in, and please, Melita, if you're interested, there is an advisory board, which questions like that would be a great asset to be thinking through. So I think that's great. I'm gonna write that down and make sure we come back to it.
Got you.
Alvin, so about the advisory board, if people are interested, possibly participating, do they just send you an email, or how does that work?
So what would be best is if you can go to clt.kepler.org, if you already haven't, and fill out the get involved form. And there's like a checkbox for if you want to have interest in the advisory board. So that would be best if you haven't done that yet. And of course, there's also, if you want to talk more about it, clt@kepler.org, which comes to me and a couple other folks who are working on the CLT project. So definitely those two. So you can talk to us, email us, and also fill out the form would be good, so we can have everyone's stuff in one place. And we did have someone join us. Leslie, did you want to introduce yourself? Yeah. Just who you are, and we just shared who we are, and also maybe something that brought you to the meeting today.
Trying to unmute myself. No, it's the same Leslie.
Same
I was
okay.
leaving. I had my problems with my computer, so I logged in from my cell.
I appreciate it. Well, this is a spot if you want to share anything. Did you learn what you came to learn, or is it still?
Yeah, well, I've researched it, or briefly looked up things about community land banks and land trusts. I knew we didn't have one in the area, and was just curious of a better understanding. So I did. That was made clear to me. I wanted to find out what groups in the area were focusing on that and who was partnering with it. Because I have a sincere interest on all the topics that were touched on, and like this much understanding and awareness on where we are in Indianapolis and who to follow, and find out what's going on and what more is going on, and to see if or what skills I have to be involved. So yes, awesome. I know just enough to be curious. And so this helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. And also on the website too, there's a video from our training in December, in case you weren't there. It basically was a recording of Jason Webb, our Grounded Solutions, walking through the history of CLTs, how they work, as well as some examples of them. So definitely that's a good place to start if you want to do some self-education. And of course, if you want to have a conversation about getting involved, shoot us an email and we'd love to sit down and talk some more. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And these meetings, I guess from what I looked at or saw, have been reoccurring, correct? Is that what I'm
So
hearing?
they're every second Thursday at the same time at 6 o'clock. So
Thank
you
you.
can come back next time and learn more and or bring a friend too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Brittany, go ahead.
Hey, while we're talking about the website, I just wanted to shout out y'all's website. And while everyone is there visiting the website, please sign up for the newsletter. I don't do anything with the newsletter. Like I come on these calls not with the organization except for like volunteering and listening and just being a cheerleader. But the website is amazing, number one, and the newsletter is even more amazing, I think. And it's really good content, and there's lots more that Kepra's doing. And if you're on this call and you like what we're talking about, you would definitely love the newsletter too. So I just wanted to put that out there, Alvin. I hope that's okay. I really,
And just real quick, reiterate, everybody check the chats, grab the information. Have a blessed night, everybody.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. So we'll close it here. And John, I will get back at you too to talk about Lyle Station. So please, if you could put your email in the chat and we'll talk some more offline too. Well, I will leave the room open for people to talk to each other if you want and or grab up the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight and really appreciate your time and your interest. And look forward to working together.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, John. I got it. Bye, Beth. Bye, Alicia.
Good night, everyone. Bye, Alvin. Thank you.